Welcome, everyone, to a brand new episode of the Cover 2 podcast. And if you're looking on your screen right now, things might look a little different. Normally, it's a two-man show, but we are blessed and honored to have our guy, Alex Silva, back on. Alex Silva, welcome back, my guy.
Let's go. The rare cover 3 defense for you guys. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Cover 3. We're going zone all day, baby. Guys, we have a jam-packed show for you. Later on in the show, we have to get into some baseball news, right? The regular season's coming to an end. So we're going to get into the MVP battle. We've got a little New York Yankee and then some SoCal Shohei Ohtani kind of battle going back and forth. So we're going to get into that. But week 2 of the NFL, we have to start with football. Let's just say that it was a rough, shaky start for all three of our teams. Week 1, it was a little rough, right? A little rough.
No!
But hey, it's a new week 2, baby. Listen, I think our motto for this week is a win is a win is a win. Okay, this isn't college football. You don't have to win all sexy and cute. In the NFL, a win is a fucking win. Okay, and all three of our teams got one. We're all sporting Cowboys. I know Nick's got his Cardinals. Yep, there it is. Yeah. Alex, it's okay. He's not wearing his Denver stuff, but it's fine.
Jersey's in the wash as we speak.
Yeah, got a little excited. Needs to be washed. I'm sure it got a little dirty, a little sweaty, right? But guys, I mean, how are we feeling after week 1, right? I know I'm ecstatic. Backup quarterback. Didn't think the Cowboys were going to do shit this week, and they come out with a win. Nick, your Cardinals probably have the craziest game of the week. And Alex, let's jump right into the Denver Broncos. Russell Wilson at home, opening game at home for them. Talk about the win, man. Let's get it going.
Yeah, on Twitter, it was a lot of must-win game already coming out. Like, you have to win the home opener with Russ, with your shiny new quarterback. You're playing the Texans that tied last week against the Colts. It was already a very high-pressure game, and it started off a little slow. It was I think it was 6-6 at half with a couple field goals. So, but we figured it out. It's all matters. You figure it out. Did the little hurdles. I will say what gives me hope about this team is we are number 1 in the NFL when it comes to yards gained per drive. We're at 56.9 yards per game. That's more than Chiefs, more than the Bills. Well, that also might be a knock on our defense. I don't know. But if the football field was 95 yards, we would be undefeated. We would have all the touchdowns. But we stalled out. So we're still working through some kinks. I'm excited about it. The team is still very exciting. We have a couple little nagging injuries, but the road ahead looks pretty good.
Yeah, I want to say, you said you have a lot of nagging little injuries. Now, one of those injuries must be to your head coach Hackett's brain, because there's some there's a lot of issues there, Alex. You're acting, you can throw out all the stats you want about 56 yards a drive or whatever, but I look and I think you guys have scored 30 points the whole year.
Yep.
So, talk about the lack of scoring, talk about the play calling. We all know that what I call was the worst play call in NFL history, that field goal on Monday Night Football. We all know about that. Now we have the fans counting down the play clock and Russell Wilson tripping over himself. What's going on with the Broncos, their communication, and why don't they look like the team a lot of people thought they would be in the offseason?
Yeah, I think the hat for Hackett is just a little too tight. He's got a big old head. He might want to switch it up with a visor or something. But, we've stalling at the goal line has definitely been the theme of the first 2 games. That first game against Seattle, it was fumble at the 1-yard line. Fumble at the 1-yard line. I mean, you hope that's not going to happen. That's not going to be a trend. So it's, the optimist in me is looking for, we're not going to do that every time we're on the 1-yard line. We also had in that first game a touchdown that was called back because the tight end has never heard of a toe drag. So hopefully you can clear that up, You have another one where Cortland Sutton was false starting on that shovel pass to it. That could just be 12th man issues. I don't know. But again, going into the confidence side of me, the X's and O's are there. We have a lot, we're scheming up a lot of open guys, but the execution is definitely not occurring. whether it's a ton of penalties. We had 120 yards in penalties the first game. I think we had 60 by half in the second game. It's just offsides, there's holdings, it's just dumb, like fine details that aren't coming through. And I don't know if it's the coaching. I was kind of talking to Jared a little bit before, during the game about maybe it's just a little too complex of an offense to start off right off the bat. It seems like they're going to the line with a couple plays. Russ is trying to do his best Peyton Manning impression, and calling plays and being the field general, where his team might not all be on the same page. So I think if you go up there with just a different game plan, maybe just a little bit more simplified, and then execute those well, you're going to see a much larger clip of success. And to go into that the week one, the ending of the game, if you want to decide, you want to have the debate on should they have gone for it on 4th and 5 or should they have kicked it, that's fine. I'm personally split, because if your kicker says, hey, make that line and I'll make it, and he gets to that line, that's execution on the kicker, I think. I get the whole, you just spent how much money on Russell Wilson and, use, your best player and have him get those 5 yards. If you can't trust him to get 5 yards, blah, blah, blah. They were struggling every drive that game. Communication was rough. I think Hackett didn't have trust in Russell Wilson just yet for him to gamble that away, especially when you're within your, range of your kicker. So I think he was thinking, give his kicker a chance. He's going to show trust to him first, and then we'll go from there. With the whole letting the clock wind down, I think that's what happened was he had decided to kick it, so kill as much clock as possible. So when they make it, the Seahawks only have 15 seconds.
You can play second morning quarterback and all that stuff. You put the ball in your best player's hands, and I think when you have a Russell Wilson type player, you live and die by him. Right. I don't think you can live and die by your kicker when you have that caliber quarterback. If you don't have a great quarterback, like some teams don't, then yeah, you maybe go with the kicker and you put the blame on him. You got Russell Wilson, you have Josh Allen, you have Tom Brady. You live and you die by your best players. And I think they learned the hard lesson, but you gotta, next time they're gonna be in that situation again, right? You put the ball in Russell Wilson's hands and let him do his thing.
Yeah, and Jared, you left somebody out on that little list you just said a second ago about guys, that you need to put the ball in your best player's hands. You forgot about Kyler Murray, okay, when you're talking about it, because I want to talk about my Cardinals for a second. We put the ball in our $40 million guy. We put the ball in his hands this past Sunday, and he single-handedly made it happen for us. And boy, the Cardinals are back. Kyler Murray's back in the MVP race. I couldn't be more excited. Jared, I'm kidding. Come on, you know what I've been talking about with Kyler. But I just wanted, I wanted to give this take because, I'm glad you brought this up, because in Denver they're not allowing Russell Wilson to be the guy, right? To win games for them essentially. The guys that are making the mistakes on Monday Night Football, it's the coaching staff, it's the running backs fumbling. It's not Russell Wilson throwing interceptions or fumbling himself or making bad reads. So I think the Broncos would be a little better off right now, and they would be 2-0 if they had given the ball more to Russ. And I think now you look at what the Cardinals did at the end of that game, they kind of said, you know what, Kyler, just figure it out, right? We're going to call a play, but you just figure it out. And literally every single time he did. And so that's why you paid that guy. It doesn't matter how many video games he's playing. He's clearly been playing Madden a little bit more than COD lately, right? Based on that run on that 2-point conversion and just overall every single play. But so I did enjoy giving our quarterback, a guy that's been very controversial in the offseason. People are skeptical of his leadership, skeptical of his play on the field since that Rams game in the playoffs last year. And what did he do for the first time since that game? And the first time really since about, week 8, week 9 of last season, the old Kyler Murray kind of came back. And so if he can keep doing that for us, we'll make the playoffs in a weaker NFC conference. If they don't let him, hold the reins of the offense, if they don't let him run the ball, if they don't let him do what he wants to do, like every other star quarterback gets to do essentially, a la Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, all those guys kind of do whatever they want, and they end up being pretty successful. So I really enjoyed that. Our defense scares the shit out of me still. We just don't know how to stop the run at all. It seems, and this has been, I feel like, a running issue since I became a fan of this team. There's times where running backs are going 9 yards a clip, and it's disappointing. But Jared, what was your take on my Cardinals? What are you thinking after a team comes back like that? Do you think the locker room's fixed a little bit? Do you think there's a little bit more confidence? Do you think they'll give the ball to Kyler? Give me some answers here from a non-Cardinals fan.
Yeah. First of all, Cardinals aren't making the playoffs this year. Okay, it's not happening. I'm sorry. You can say what you want.
Okay, give me. Hey Jared, real quick though, give me 7 teams that are in the NFC. Real quick off the top of your head, since you're so confident that the Cardinals aren't going to make the playoffs, give me 7 teams that are.
Bucks, Eagles. Let's see.
Oh, there you go.
Eagles. Yeah.
No,
maybe I can't do that right now. That was good.
I was waiting to see if he was going to say the Cowboys or not.
How can you? No. I can't even say my Cowboys right now. Are you kidding me? It's been one game, and I get it. You're still riding a little bit high, but how can we put trust in Kyler Murray? Like, there's a reason why they were down by double digits and had to come back in that fourth quarter. And yes, the defense has been pretty damn bad in the first 2 weeks, but I also think the offensive efficiency is just completely not there right now. I don't see this offense gelling, and to me, it's a little concerning because how long has Cliff Kingsbury been the head coach? 4 years now, 4 or 5 years, like within a sense the same offense. And so to me, like, Kyler Murray should know this offense frontwards, backwards. Like, it should be ingrained in his brain. And I know that you have some new weapons, but like, to me, I don't see how this offense at least is not scoring 30 plus points a game because of the continuity that they have, at least scheme wise, and with your quarterback signal caller there, right? And he has a relationship with Hollywood Brown from their college days. So I look at this team and you see the defense not playing well and that, they have a lot to fix. But offensively, I'm worried because it's not like a new head coach and a new offense and the first offseason that they're having to run this stuff. Like, you guys have been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and it's still not really clicking.
Give me your scope on the rest of the AFC West, how you think it will plan out and what you're seeing after 2 weeks.
I think on paper, all 4 of these teams on paper could make the playoffs. And I would not doubt that in a heartbeat. But so far, yeah, you're right. I don't know if we can trust Josh McDaniels. Like, obviously, his first go around with the Broncos failed. And then he went back and he rejuvenated himself. And, he went back to his dad and Bill Belichick, and he was able to get another head coaching job. But it turns out that, yes, you have the weapons in Devontae Adams and Darren Waller. But how are they being used? And I think week 1, we saw Devontae Adams go off, right? And I think it's to your point, Alex, of do you let one player go off and then make sure that no one else does? Because, yes, Devontae Adams, I don't think anyone can stop him one-on-one. But if you double or triple or cover him and then you let one other player for the Raiders go off, I think they're easily beatable.
Yeah.
Right? And so to me, it could, I don't know if it's scheme. I'm not sure what it is. I think the problem that will hinder the Raiders will be their defense. I think I can name one secondary player, and that's Jonathan Adams or Abrams. Abrams, right? And that's only because when they were on Hard Knocks a couple years ago, he was like the most entertaining dude on Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
But he's more of an in-the-box guy. He's a hard hitter, but he can't cover anyone. Their secondary is garbage. Their linebackers are okay. Their defensive line is really what they lean on. But if their defensive line doesn't get home, it's a wrap. You're going to be able to move the ball on this Raiders defense. So, you would think that the Raiders can score 30-plus points a game, but so far they haven't been able to do that. And so, yeah, I can't really argue with you. The Chiefs, as long as they still have Patrick Mahomes and you don't know where he's going to throw the ball because now he's just looking everywhere, they're still going to be scary. The Chargers, as long as Justin Herbert, that rib injury is not serious and he can manage it with pain tolerance, I think they're still going to be fine. And then I think you're right, Alex. Unfortunately, your Broncos are going to come in third, but that doesn't mean that they can't get a wild card. I think they're still going to be in tension for a wild card spot. And then the Raiders will drop to number 4 and they're going to be out of a spot.
And Jerry, I know your liver's feeling a little bit better this week because your Cowboys got a big win. A backup quarterback, Cooper Rush, goes in there. He beats the defending AFC champs at home. Very impressive win. Talk about it. Game-winning field goal. The Cowboys did what they needed to do. they're very limited on offense, maybe the most limited out of all the teams we've talked about so far, realistically. And some of that's due to injury, some of that's due to your great, awesome general manager you have in Jerry Jones. Talk about really quickly that win on Sunday that I know you were very, very happy about.
Yeah. Oh, trust me, I was very happy. But listen, I can't come into this podcast saying that I expected Dallas to win. I expected to be coming on this show with Dallas being 0-2, 2 home losses, and my world just in a frenzy, not knowing what to do with myself. So the fact that they were able to pull this game out, I really this is a defensive team, right? Like last year, Dak was throwing the ball around, breaking Cowboys records and 37 touchdowns and all this stuff. This is a defensive minded team, and it starts and ends with Micah Parsons. Micah Parsons is the main reason why this defense is so great. I think Dan Quinn deserves a lot of credit for moving him around and making him a chess piece, not just saying you're going to be a stand-up linebacker or you're exclusively going to be an edge rusher. Like, an offense does not know where Micah Parsons is going to be, and that is scary, right? And then when you have Trayvon Diggs, who likes to get interceptions and take chances, yeah, is he going to give up a couple catches? Yeah, he is. But guess what? As a quarterback, you have to know that he will gamble, and eventually he's going to get his hands on balls, right? So to me, if you're Dallas, and even going back to week 1 against Tampa, like, not saying that Dallas would have won, because I think Tampa still could have won that game, but it could have been a lot more competitive, right? If Dallas could have played a little better defense, not had the penalties like you talked about, like just stupid penalties, right? I can get if it's a holding or if it's a pass interference or something that happens during a play, like it's the physical nature of the game. But to get a false start, to get in offsides on a punt return or something just stupid, like those are little things that just cannot happen. And when you've led the league in penalties for the last 2 years, like, I don't want to hear that you practice it in training camp and that you've harped on it, because apparently it's not been harped on enough. Like, it's time for guys to start getting fined, or it's time for guys to start getting benched. Like, you can't be disciplined enough to not go off sides. Get off the field. I got to throw it out there. And when I toss it to you guys, I want to get your opinion on that. From an offensive perspective, especially without Dak, like, this was the perfect game plan. You run the ball, use play action. I don't know why we didn't do that in week 1. I think Kellen Moore gets in his own head because he says Dak is really good, which I think he is, but we're going to just, rely on Dak exclusively. It's like, no. Like, yeah, your offensive line isn't what it used to be, but you can still run the ball. Like, when Dallas, I've said this so many times on this podcast, in previous years, when Dallas has given Ezekiel Elliott 20+ carries a game, they are like at an 80% win rate clip. It is so stupid. Like, and I'm not saying Ezekiel Elliott is the player he used to be. He's not. Like, there's a reason Tony Pollard is taking so many more carries. But if you give Dallas a combined 20 to 25 carries between Zeke and Pollard, I think you have a much better chance of winning the game. But when you want to let Dak throw the ball 40, 50 times, like, can he do it? Yes. Is it a recipe for success? No, I really don't think so. So to me, this formula that they used in week 2, run the ball, play action, trust your defense, and I think that's a formula for them to win. Now, I'll say this as well, last thing before I toss it to you. Philadelphia's going to win this division. Philly is unreal right now. Like, I can't say anything bad. Hurts is playing out of his mind. If Dallas wants to make the playoffs, it's going to be as a wild card. I do not see Dallas, between the coaching staff and the players that they have compared to Philadelphia, they do not have what it takes to edge out Philly. So it ain't going to happen. And if they want to win, it'll be through a wild card spot. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I love that stat of when Ezekiel Elliott runs it 20 times a game, they have an 80% chance of winning. No shit, because you usually run the ball 5 or 10 times in the fourth quarter when you have a lead. You're saying, like, well, we're down 10, we have 5 minutes left, but we're successful when we run Zeke, so we run him then? No, you're not going to run him. Just giving reps to Zeke isn't the issue. That's not the recipe. So that stat's misleading, I think. And I was actually going to ask you, do you think now with Cooper Rush being the quarterback, you're not able to rely on, like, the Dak Prescott, being a little more aggressive downfield? Is this going to force the offensive coaches for Dallas to, like, hey, we really need to play our best players, and are we going to see a little bit more highlight of Tony Pollard? So I think what we're going to see is a flip-flop in terms of snaps when it comes to Pollard over Zeke. I just want to know if you think that trend will continue.
I think it will. and I don't really care how it happens. Like, I think that should have been the mindset going into week 1. Like, Tony Pollard deserves more carries. It's just a simple fact. Like, Ezekiel Elliott, he's still a good goal line back. He's a great pass protector, and I think he doesn't deserve the money he's getting. I'll be flat out with that. If you're making $15+ million a year as a running back, like, you need to be 3 down. I will say he had a PCL injury last year, which really hindered him. Like, they should have just shut him down. Like, bro, you're doing the team a disservice by trying to come out here and be a tough guy, and you're getting 1, maybe 2 yards a carry. Like, let Tony Pollard do his thing and go rest up. So I think that was a big factor last year. But to be honest, that should have been the game plan going into the entire year. Like, I don't understand, because now Cooper Rush is in the game, why, now we need to utilize our best players. Like, why can't you do that with Dak in the lineup? Because if you do that combined with the defense that I think this team can have, which could be a top 5, top 10 defense, scoring wise at least, or, giving up points, then I think this team can make a wild card spot. But if you want it, when Dak does come back in week 4, week 5, or whenever it is, if they want to just go back to Dak's going to lead us again, we're going to throw the ball 40 times, we're going to, sprinkle in some runs here and there, I think it's a recipe for disaster. And to your point there, or to my point initially of the 20+ yard carries, just because you have a 10-point deficit lead, that doesn't mean you go away from the run. Like, yeah, if there's 2 minutes left, if it's a 2-minute drill, yeah, you need to be, up tempo, no huddle, obviously throwing the ball. But when there's 5-6 minutes left in the game, and even if it's a 7 or a 10-point deficit, I think you still need to run the ball. Like, you still need to keep the defense honest. Like, as a person who played defense, not at the professional level, but as a defender in the secondary, if I knew that the team was going to be one-dimensional, you know how much easier it makes our job? Like, you have to, at some point, still run the ball. Even if it's a screen, if it's a whatever type, like, there are other ways besides just handing the ball off to your running back in the backfield of being able to utilize the run game in some type of way. And I simply don't think that Kellen Moore does that enough. I think he gets too enamored with Dak. He's freaking on his hands and knees saying Dak is the greatest thing, whatever, which, like I said, I think he's a good quarterback, but I don't think he is elite enough to throw the ball 40 or 50 times like a Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes and consistently win. Dallas needs their running game, and for some reason, they don't want to stick with it.
Yeah, I mean, Jared, you're making a lot of sense, and I think it goes to the trend of this podcast of give the guy that you pay a shit ton of money to, give him the fucking ball. And so with Zeke, and I agree with both your points. Alex, you make a great point that the Cowboys, are down sometimes, and you're not going to give Ezekiel Elliott the ball. But it's the carries, I think, that we're not seeing in the first half of games. And in the third quarter, that's what I think Jared is talking about when these stats come in. There, of course, are going to be those games where the Cowboys get down by a lot, and you just have to abandon the run a little bit, or you have to bring in Pollard and Zeke to catch the ball instead of running. So it'd be interesting about touches necessarily with Ezekiel Elliott instead of rushing, because, if you're giving Zeke the ball and you're throwing it to him instead of handing it off, it's essentially the same thing. What I'm saying? You're still trying to gain yards. But, I think the Cowboys in this time where Dak Prescott, who's obviously the better quarterback than Cooper Rush, is out, you do need to rely on your star players. You need to have easy ways to get Zeke and CeeDee Lamb the ball, because they're your best players, on the offense. And if you can do that, you're going to give your team the best chance to win. Are they going to win every game? No, because they're just, they're limited offensively, and there are teams that are better than them. It will be very interesting to see you guys play New York, number one, or this next Monday, number one, because New York is somehow 2-0, but I don't trust them yet. I've said that they essentially gave up the year by starting Daniel Jones, right? And somehow they're 2-0, and I just love that. I love when I'm just so wrong. But I think I'll be proven right on Monday when they don't score a lot and the Cowboys will actually win. And I do think the Cowboys will be 2-1 after Monday night against New York. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting with the Cowboys. Jared, I do hope for your sake, they compete, and Dak does come back when Jerry Jones says he's going to come back and stuff like that, because Cooper Rush, he's not going to be able to get you guys to the playoffs. So you need Dak. If you can get wins where you can get him now, again, Dak comes back, you're a better team. Real quickly, the team you played, Cincinnati Bengals. Now they're 0-2, and they were the AFC champions last year. And that's where we're gonna change styles here on the podcast really quick. We're gonna play a little game of 0-2 and 2-0. So we're gonna go over some of the teams that are 0-2, and some of the teams that are 2-0, and talk about if those teams are legitimate. I kind of gave away my opinion on the Giants. Alex, you've given your opinion on the Raiders a little bit already, so we don't necessarily need to go over those teams. But a team I do want to talk about that's 0-2. I want to talk about if this team is legitimate and can make the playoffs, because there's those stats out there, speaking of stats, of the teams that are 0-2, it's harder for them to make the playoffs. Well, the Bengals were in the Super Bowl last year, and now they're 0-2 and both very, very winnable games. So, Alex, I'll give you the first try on this one. Cincinnati Bengals, will they end up making the playoffs by the end of the year, or was this team just a one-hit wonder last year?
So I think they still make the playoffs. I think you have Joe Burrow, who didn't have any preseason practice because I can't remember what the injury was, but he was having the injury. He got like a minor surgery. What was it?
I think it was his appendix.
Appendix, yeah. So it's like a non-throwing, just kind of didn't get really many reps, and that showed heavy, especially against the Steelers to start the season. You have T. Higgins, who had a shoulder surgery in the offseason, also got no preseason reps, also had a concussion after like the 5th snap of the game on week 1. So the offense was shaky, not a lot of reps, looking, not rest versus rust, a lot of rust, for them to start off. And like the first team they played, the Steelers, they should have won, because even with 5 interceptions, Joe Burrow still brought them back. And technically, I'm going to say won the game for them, but the kicker missed it at the extra point.
Sure.
Unreal. So I think
they had snap problems.
Dude, yeah, because I think it was their snapper got injured.
Their snapper was out. Yeah.
So I think the Bengals are the ones who had the most, they've stepped on the most banana peels to start the season. And once they get going, you're going to see that offense really start to churn out some points. You're going to see the other teams having to play from behind and give their defense more opportunities to take the ball away, which is what they're better at, instead of stopping the run. So I'm buying on the Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah, well, I'll go next here. The AFC is tough this year. You're gonna see the Chiefs. You're gonna see the Chargers. You might see the Broncos in the playoffs. It seems like the Steelers are still a solid team. They blew it against New England. I mean, Jesus Christ. Like I've talked about with the quarterbacks, and that this is for another podcast. But, when you start shitbags like Mitchell Trubisky at quarterback, you tend to not be the best football team. And that, again, it's showing. They should have lost last week. They lose to Pittsburgh, whatever. But, again, tough opponent, right? For some reason, the Ravens. You'll likely see the Ravens in the playoffs. Then you move to the Bills. You'll see the Bills in the playoffs. The Dolphins you might see in the playoffs. So, again, and then, of course, an AFC South team, which is the best division in football, the AFC South. You'll see a team somehow get into the playoffs there. So, again, I just named about 7-8 teams right there that could make the playoffs. It's going to be tough. I do think they'll get in, because I think, again, they did improve as a team from their Super Bowl run. They improved their offensive line, although it doesn't look like it right now, with Lyle Collins being an open car door over there, at left, right tackle, whatever the fuck position he's playing. But, it's going to be tough, but I do think this team still improved. You said lack of preseason reps for their best player, Joe Burrow. It's always tough. I think we're seeing a little bit of that with Russell Wilson and Hackett as well. We saw that with Kyler and Cliff, maybe in the beginning of the season for the Cardinals as well. Not playing guys in the preseason tends to not work nowadays. I think that the Bengals will be very close, but I'm not sitting here confident that they're going to make the playoffs, because they already start 0-2 in 2 games. Realistically, they should have won.
Yeah, and real quick, just to defend Joe Burrow a little bit more, especially the offensive line woes. They were playing against maybe one of the top 2 defensive lines to start the season, with TJ Watt and the Steelers, and then Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence and the Cowboys. So it's going to get better, I think, when it comes to the next teams they start playing. They'll be a little more smooth.
Hey, let me say something real quick before Jared gets his take on the Bengals. What would have been nice, Jared, is that if your team it sounds like a lot of these ex-Cowboys are on the Bengals. Wouldn't it have been nice to maybe trade these guys to get something in return instead of just have them go sign with another team? Like, it's so funny that we talk about how the Cowboys wouldn't shell out money. You could have just traded DeMarcus Lawrence. You could have just traded La'el Collins to the Bengals and got some in return. They needed certain things. The Cowboys needed certain things. Maybe you throw in a receiver, right? I think, yeah, it's just funny to me. It's funny to me how that works. But go ahead, give your take on the Bengals.
Yeah, it's real funny. It's great, and it's so interesting because Jerry Jones really quickly always calls himself a businessman, which I think he actually is like great. That's what he does. He's not an NFL owner. He's not great at that, but he's a businessman and he knows how to make money. The problem is, like, when you let it be known to the other 31 teams in the NFL that like this player at some point is going to be released if you can't trade him, why would another team want to trade for him? Because they know that they can get him whenever you release him. So for some reason, Dallas, I don't know why they can't keep a secret, right? It's like, keep it a secret. Like, you don't need to tell other teams, well, hey, guess what? If we don't make a trade package, we're just going to have to release. Like, no, say we really like this guy, but because he's a cap, like, make up a fucking lie. I don't care. Like, yes, La'el Collins, he maybe isn't as good as that $10 million salary that Dallas was paying him. I understand that. But you couldn't get anything for him. You couldn't get a 5th-round pick, a 6th-round pick, something for the guy. You have to let him go. Now, like, Micah Parsons made him look like complete shit. Like, so maybe there's a reason why Cincinnati didn't want to give up anything for him. But yes, Dallas has a major problem with not keeping their mouth shut. To Cincy, this is a clean sweep. It's 3 for 3. Cincy, they have too much damn talent to not make the playoffs. I think Cincinnati has the best trio of wide receivers in the NFL with Jamar Chase, Higgins, and Tyler Boyd. That, to me, I don't think there's another trio receiving core in the NFL that is currently better right now. I simply don't. So I do trust Joe Burrow. Maybe he's still coming back from his surgery and maybe he's still got to get into rhythm. I think the biggest thing for this team, and you mentioned it, Nick, and you did as well, Alex, is the offensive line. Like, for years before Joe Burrow, this Bengals team has been hindered by a lack of an offensive line. Now, it's not without trying because they did get La'el Collins this offseason. They did sign Alex Kappa from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the offseason. So they're trying. I think they Jonah Williams was a draft pick. Ted Karkus was also a draft pick. So, like, they're trying to invest, but for some reason, it is still not gelling and still not coming together. Like, Joe Burrow was I think he either led the league in sacks last year or he's like top 3. And then this year, he is leading in sacks, with 13. So, I don't know the rhyme or reason, but the dude just cannot stay up and can't stay healthy. The Cowboys sacked him 6 times in week 2. So, to me, if you can just get a decent offensive line and give Joe Burrow an extra half second to throw the ball, he has playmakers. And then you bring in Hayden Hurst from the tight end spot, who's a very underrated tight end in my opinion, right? Like, the defense is going to be okay. I don't think their defense is going to be anything great. But when you have those offensive weapons, you don't need a great defense. Just be fucking average, right? But get the offensive line right. Give Joe Burrow time to throw to his great receivers. And I think the Cincinnati Bengals team will be fine. The Steelers, I don't believe in them. The Browns, you obviously have Jacoby Brissett as your quarterback. And for whatever reason, their running backs can't just go and take a knee. They got to go score to give their fantasy managers some extra points. That's the reason why they lost. And then who's the other team that I'm missing?
Ravens.
I did too. I forgot about them too. It's crazy.
I did. The Ravens, listen, Lamar Jackson on that contract here. I trust Lamar Jackson. I don't trust their defense. When you give up a 21-plus point lead in the fourth quarter to Tua, that's just simply not there. So for that division alone, I think Cincinnati still has a chance. But offensive line play, like, come on, man.
Jared, did you say, I swear to God I heard this. Did you say that the Bengals had signed a dead carcass to be on their offense? I swear to God. What name were you trying to say? Because when I heard that, I thought you were talking about La'el Collins on left tackle. Being a dead carcass. They threw a dead person out at left tackle, and people just keep running past him, but he's fucking dead. You know?
I mean, a dead carcass might be better than what the hell they have going on.
Might have slowed him down more. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, their center is Ted. Did I say? I might have said dead. I don't know. I was in the moment.
It's just so funny. It worked out perfectly because it literally sounded like you were making fun of someone on that line by saying that they were a literal dead person, which it looks like a lot of times. It looks like they just threw a bunch of dead bodies in front of Joe Burrow, and they're like, just try to trip over these guys somehow. I don't know. Oh, good.
You know what's funny too is when Lyle Collins signed with Cincinnati, he had a quote which was then brought up after Dallas beat them, and he said, "The protector's here now. Joe Burrow's not going to get touched," and he got sacked 6 times last week. So
it's tough. Yeah, I mean, it's it's the way it goes. And just real quick, I know we keep picking on Jared's Cowboys really for no reason today. But it came out right before the game. This is the reason I keep making fun of, their decisions, because Jerry Jones, continues to make ridiculous statements for the Cowboys. And he called Noah Brown Cedric Wilson today during the press conference.
Twice.
Again, the NFL, if you look at, I heard plenty of these comments, watching a lot of the later games, especially the early games too, how all the NFL coaches are so young nowadays. And a lot of the general managers are young. And the Cowboys, they hired an old fat guy to be their coach, and they have a very, very old general manager as well. And it's just like, certain teams are doing things right and certain teams are doing things backwards. And I think that, when you look at the Cowboys, it's like we talked about Jerry Jones a little bit, but I just wanted to bring that up. That's why I keep making fun of them, because Jerry Jones is turning into like that old man that's saying ridiculous things.
He's
now
because he just, Al Davis for sure.
Yeah, not turning into. He is the second coming of Al Davis. That was decided 10 years ago. That's not. But here's the problem with, like, really quick with Dallas. Jerry Jones always says, "I will write a blank check to win a Super Bowl." Like he obviously he has all the money in the world, and Dallas is the #1 sports franchise in the world. And he says he'll do whatever it takes financially to win. Guess what, Jerry? If you were to hire a general manager or a specific coach or any coach on your coaching staff, there's no salary cap for that. Like you know what I mean? Like players, like there's a salary cap for the amount of money you can pay players. You can pay a coach whatever you want. You can hire an actual general manager and pay him whatever the fuck you want. Give him $50 million a year. No one cares, right? Like, so when Jerry Jones always says, "Oh, I'll do whatever it takes to win. I'll pay whatever it pays to win," that's actually false, because if you did that, then you would remove yourself from a general manager, hire someone that actually knows what the fuck they're doing, and pay them accordingly. So, like, he came out, I think it was Monday yesterday, and he said, I will never sell the team. No shit. Like, we know you're not going to sell the team. We know it's going to go to your family, but like, that doesn't mean that you have to, control every aspect. Like you said, like there's successful teams that do it right, and it's really not rocket science. Like, look at what they're doing and try to piggyback off of that. Now, my hope is if Dallas doesn't make the playoffs this year, McCarthy is gone, Sean Payton or Dan Quinn is in. That is my like saving grace for them potentially having a bad year, is that things are going to turn around, right? Like before it's always darkest before the light comes out, right? Like that's the old saying. So that's where the hope is if for some reason we don't make the playoffs.
So in that vein, are you rooting for success then for the Cowboys, or are you like, because like does 8 and 9, do you keep McCarthy another year?
No.
Or
if they don't,
I don't know.
No. I'll answer this question for both of you. He's gone no matter what. Unless you win a Super Bowl, he's gone. I don't like, even the NFC Championship isn't enough to keep that man. It's just not like.
Then why
you got
keep him
Sean
out?
Payton? Sean Payton is they should fire him. I don't know why they haven't yet.
Here's the thing, and I
because the general manager. No. Let me just say this, because the general manager doesn't know what he's doing. Okay, that's why it's a trend. Like, Jerry Jones doesn't know what he's doing, and he doesn't know how to speak, and so he probably wanted to fire him and he misspoke. Like that's like he probably just There's something about these super old guys with white or blonde hair, right? Like, we've seen it in the last 2 presidents. There's just something off with the way they talk or whatever. Jerry Jones is starting to turn into that right now.
Here's what it is. I guarantee Jerry Jones he's already talked to Sean Payton. I guarantee he's already talked to him on the phone. They've already had a secret meeting. He's already brought him onto his $250 million yacht, private conversation, flown him on a helicopter. If Sean Payton is willing to come back into coaching, then he will be Dallas's coach next year. Like I do believe that. If he doesn't, if he wants to stay retired, if for some reason he doesn't want to go to Dallas because he knows he's going to get micromanaged, which I don't blame him for not coming. Like, obviously I want him as a fan, but if I'm Sean Payton, I don't know if I take that job because I don't know if I can fully be myself. Like, am I going to always week to week be hindered by Jerry Jones? So here's the thing, Dallas has to get to the NFC Championship game for Mike McCarthy to have any type of chance of staying. Anything below that, he's gone no matter what. Sean Payton is their number one, and if for some reason Sean Payton declines or gets another head coach job, whatever, then it should be Dan Quinn. So either way, Mike McCarthy is more than likely not coming back because I don't see Dallas making the NFC Championship game. And it should either be Sean Payton number one, and 1B should be Dan Quinn, in my opinion, to take over.
No, I agree. I mean, I think that whoever you can get to coach besides Mike McCarthy at this point is better. I mean, I even think Kellen Moore would be a better option than
No. You must be drunk. Stop drinking that fucking monster. Put that
I think Kellen Moore's got to go with McCarthy. Kellen Moore's experiment needs to.
Kellen Moore's gone.
I like Dan Quinn. I like that. I mean, yeah.
You know why?
Why?
Because the players play hard for Dan Quinn. Right? Like, he's the X's and O's guy, and obviously he knows his football. The players fucking respect him. I don't think the players respect Mike McCarthy and maybe some other coaches in the league. Kellen Moore, even though he's a former player. The players want to play hard for Dan Quinn.
Have you heard Kellen Moore in the locker room when he's like giving like the halftime adjustments?
He's a bitch.
It sounds like a kid like doing like a middle school project. He's like, all right, guys, if we just, all pull together here, we're gonna get this going. And he sounds like a child. I can't imagine some, beefy.
That's really, that stuff's really going to work for like those dudes from like the South and stuff that grew up in Atlanta, like that kind of, like, come on, guys, like we're like, it doesn't. It's NFL. There's like certain things you talk about in the NFL, and there's certain things you talk about when you're coaching, like he said, middle school Catholic football, in Orange County, right? Like the schools, the teams I used to play for, right, where we had these bitch ass coaches. Right, they're like, I do this and this, and then we get killed by the teams from Los Angeles.
We're having fun,
murder.
Hey, this has been great, and I love this, but I'm done. I can't. We gotta move on. We gotta. I love the.
Should we go to the NFC South?
You guys even got me getting off of my high from the Cowboys win and started to get pissed off again. I would like to redeem this high for at least the rest of today, and then tomorrow's a new week. So give me the rest of today. Let me continue to be happy about my Cowboys win, and let's move on to our 2-0 teams, right? Is that where we're going next? Because we did our 0-2 teams.
One thing real quick. This is what you get for saying the Cardinals aren't going to make the playoffs and not being able to back it up. Okay?
They're not. It's just fact.
Really?
I'll bet you money right now the Cardinals don't make the playoffs.
We'll have to talk about it after the podcast. Really quickly. There's two other 0-2 teams, and we'll just go fast because, again, we are running low on time. Raiders. Okay. Alex, playoffs or not?
No.
We've talked about them already, so we don't need to.
Yeah. Too many people in the AFC West. Too many, like you said, all the teams you said that why the Bengals can't make it. Same reasons why the Raiders can't make it. Also, Josh McDaniels, I feel, is the same kind of vein as a Kellen Moore. Just doesn't know how to talk to actual men. He's a great X's and O's. If it was him on Madden, he would design the best plays, but just doesn't know how to be a leader.
Jed?
Yeah, no, I don't need to. No.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's hard to say they're not going to make it, but again, it's just the AFC West. I know their schedule is brutal, so it's hard. Like if the AFC West was playing,
Nick, it's very easy. Just no. Say it with us. No, it's not hard.
I don't know. I'm almost. It's okay. I'll say no. It's fine. We can all agree to Falcons and Panthers 0-2 are not going to make the playoffs, so that's pretty easy. And then the last team, Tennessee Titans in a very, very, very weak division. They blow the game against New York and they get blown out by the Bills. Does anybody think they can still make the playoffs? Does anybody going out on a limb and saying, "Oh, can we get a majority here on no or yes?"
So I think yes. They haven't played anyone in the division yet. And I know they're 0-2, and then the Texans and Colts are 0-1-1. I'm counting them as 0-2 as well. They haven't shown anything that's going to give any type of confidence that they'll even get a win this year. I think the Texans are more feisty than the Colts, but they're both going to be, sprinting to the first overall pick. I think the Tennessee Titans, once they get to beat up on their own division a little bit, you're going to see they'll have enough wins to win that division. They won't get a wild card. No one in that division is getting a wild card. They are the one. I think them and the Bengals are the ones who still have stock is going up. Colts, Texans down, Raiders down. Yeah.
Jared?
Yeah. As far as this division goes, I agree with you that the Titans. Here's what I will say: Titans need to start Malik Willis. I think Malik Willis in this offense, I think that would give them a boost. Nothing against Tannehill. I think Tannehill is a decent quarterback, and props to him for in the previous years getting Tennessee to the playoffs and beating the Patriots and all these things. But I think his ceiling is capped. Like, exactly who Ryan Tannehill is. You know exactly what he's going to do for you. And I don't think he's going to do anything special or above and beyond that will elevate this team, especially constructed right now. Now, obviously, Malik Willis will have a huge learning curve, and you're going to have to, suck it up. But Malik Willis, his talent and what he can do with his legs, I'm sorry, man. Like, last night, the Monday night game when they were getting blown out, Malik Willis went in, and I saw 2 plays, and I was like, wow, like, he's electric, man. Like, put him in. And I don't know if it's because, like you said, maybe it's the division and maybe the coaching staff just trusts Tannehill more. But if they put Malik Willis in, then I would easily say Tennessee. In all honesty, it should be the Colts. Like, I don't know why the Colts. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something here. I know that what's his name, Shaquille, their linebacker is out right now. Leonard is out, but I think their defense should be decent, and really offensively, like, you have a great running game, and I think your receivers are good enough. Like, tell me why the Colts are not a good team right now. You have a great offensive line as well.
Matt Ryan.
I think Matt Ryan.
Yeah, Matt Ryan sucks. He's old and he sucks.
Can't put the ball downfield, so the safeties are up stopping Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor didn't do shit yesterday, or 2 days ago, whatever day it is. It's Matt Ryan. And he holds on to the ball too long. It's not like he's holding on to the ball like Joe Burrow because he's going to airmail it and get a nice 60-yard tug. He's holding on to the ball and waiting for his dump off to get open. So it's not even like there's not even like an advantage to him holding on the ball. He's just going to get sacked, or they're just not going to have anyone to throw to. Also, they're having some issues with their receivers. I think both their number 1 and number 2s were injured this weekend, so that doesn't help. But
right, they were.
But it's Matt Ryan. They're just not going to do anything. Going to the Tennessee Titans, but what you said about Malik Willis. I think if the coaches decide to put in Malik Willis, they're essentially telling the team we're giving up on this season and we're going to see what we have in Malik Willis. I think so.
Wait a minute.
Because Tannehill is the one who led them to be the number 1 seed last year.
Okay, but then here's the thing, though. Let me.
The image what they're telling to the team. They're like,
but that was when.
Our veteran quarterback.
Alex, I disagree with you. That was because they had Julio Jones and A.J. Brown and all these guys. They don't have those dudes anymore, so they need another creator. And Ryan Tannehill, like, okay, for example, we're talking about Matt Ryan. When you give Matt Ryan all these unbelievable weapons in Atlanta, they go to the Super Bowl, right? And they win. They won the Super Bowl that year. Kyle Shanahan lost it for him with his play calling, but they won the fucking Super Bowl. I mean, or at least they were this close, right? So, if Matt Ryan can do that, he obviously has something there, right? And so he's now has no talent that he's throwing to, and it just shows he's an old man, right? And so I think with Ryan Tannehill, unfortunately, he's not old, but unfortunately his skill set works. He needs talent, and when he has talent, they can be the number 1 seed, and they can almost go to the Super Bowl. But I think right now they need to bring back they need to bring in Malik Willis, because he's another weapon that a defense has to account for. And right now, I don't think the defense is accounting for Ryan Tannehill at all. So I disagree with you completely. I think bringing Malik Willis will actually have them make the playoffs, and I think that's what's going to happen. That's why I'm saying yes. I think they will make the playoffs because of Malik Willis.
I hear what you're saying, Alex, as far as like if they bring in Malik, the rest of the team is going to be like, well, we're giving up on this season. I also agree with you, Nick, that I think that the skill set and what they currently have, Malik Willis can create more with what they have, right? I think the running threat of Derrick Henry is so huge that if you have Malik Willis in there, and whether it's under center or shotgun, you can't just put 8 in the box anymore and say, oh, Derrick Henry's going to run the ball, because you always have that threat of Malik Willis taking off and running. If I'm Tennessee, and I get why you didn't start him right away because he's a rookie and he wasn't even a first-round pick. He was a third or fourth. But I'm leaning more towards the Baltimore Ravens style of offense and what they do with this team. If I have Malik Willis under center, I have Derrick Henry, I have that offensive line. Give me the Baltimore Ravens style of offense, and I think they can win that way. Maybe not this year, so maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But I still like even the competitiveness to bring in Malik Willis right now, because I think we know exactly what Ryan Tannehill is, and he's not going to get them any further with the weapons that they currently have.
I think I agree with you guys definitely that Malik Willis is the better quarterback and has the higher ceiling, all that. That's not what I'm saying when I say that, like, if they bring him in, they're going to play worse. What I'm saying is if they bring him in, you are shortening the playbook. You're using a lot less playbook than what they normally would. And typically that's what happens when you are not competing as much. I agree. Everything you guys said, I agree with the fact that he will be a better threat than what Tannehill is, except in the passing game. I think if you bring Malik Willis in, you're going to have, 2 rushing touchdowns, maybe a passing touchdown, and 3 or 4 interceptions. I think you're going to be putting their defense in way worse situations, whereas Tannehill protects the ball. He knows the offense a little bit better. And Jared, what you said with the whole, instead of them, they're not going to put, 8 guys in the box to stop Henry anymore if Malik Willis there. Well, then how would you stop the scrambling quarterback if it's not putting 8 in the box? You know what I mean? So even if you put 8 in the box, you're still stopping either one of them from running. So I think the defensive scheme would still be the same, and I think you would actually benefit more because he's going to throw more erratic throws, more picks. I think your floor goes lower when you put Malik Willis in, but also the ceiling goes higher. I think that's what it is. You're going to see a lot more highlights. You'll definitely see a lot more highlights, but you're going to see a less efficient offense. And the defense is going to get pissed because they're going to be putting a lot of short fields. I've seen it with the Broncos too many times.
I don't know. There's a lot. We could have this discussion maybe if he does actually get the playing time. But I feel like you add their playbook is essentially run, give the ball to Derrick Henry, or pass. That's like it's like, or play action. Like I think there actually would be more playbook used. I don't know, and you're taking more time off the clock like the Ravens do, and I don't know. There's a lot to talk about, but we need to move on. Jerry, I'll let you get the last take on this. But
no, you're.
I just don't agree with Alex on this take at all.
Yeah.
I don't agree, and that's it's going to be fun to watch now. Yeah.
No, you're right. I think Tennessee's offense right now is nothing special, and I think it's a small play sheet. I think with
look at how
Willis,
bad they got fucked last night.
They could actually do a little more. And actually, to your point, Alex, of like maybe how Denver needs to maybe like throttle things back a little bit and less is more. Maybe that's okay with Tennessee. Like be excellent at the plays that you have, and then develop kind of as the season goes. So I would be okay with him throttling things back a little bit if it meant bringing on a more athletic and probably better quarterback. But I know we got to move on. So Nick, hit it.
Yeah, well, okay, so we went over our 0-2 teams. Now let's go over our 2-0 teams, and we'll kind of play the same game, playoffs or no. I think we can all agree the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills, all making the playoffs, 100%. I don't think we're going to disagree on any of that. And if we do, please say, because we will both mock. The other two will most likely mock the other person, because that'd be ridiculous. But there are 3 other teams. Are the Miami Dolphins, the Philadelphia Eagles, and the New York Giants. With the Eagles, we'll play NFC West because I think we all make. Do we actually agree that they'll make the playoffs this year? The Eagles, or
I think they win the division.
Yeah. I think they win the division as well. I think there's they hurt you too many ways. They have a lot of weapons. The weapons are full. The defense is a little bit older, but they're still effective, like we saw last night. Fletcher Cox still got the juice. Darius Slay was all over the ball. Yeah, I think the Eagles have enough. Like, it's weird, they have weapons on defense in that sense, where they can hurt you even when they're playing defense. So yeah.
Sure. No, I also think they'll win the NFC East So, we'll just agree. Eagles are making the playoffs. I even personally think that even if they don't win this division and somehow Dallas comes back or New York is a different type of team, I do think the Eagles will still be, because the NFC is just a little lighter. So I do think they'll make the playoffs. If they made it last year, they'll make it this year for sure, as they're a better team this year. Speaking of the NFC East, though, there is another 2-0 team, the New York Giants. And if they are able to take advantage of a Dakless Cowboys, they could be 3-0. The Eagles going into Washington, bad things happen in Washington. And so you never know. They could come out of that game 2-1, and then you're looking at the Giants, with a small lead, taking advantage of wins that they're finding a way to win. They have a new actual good head coach now. Do we think the Giants make the playoffs? For me, I'm going to say yes. I think the New York Giants will make the playoffs this year. And I think it's because of their coaching staff. I think they'll take advantage of the NFC East and their easier schedule. So I will say yes. Jared, you had a reaction to what I just said there, so I would like you to retort, please.
The only semi-legitimate thing you said was the NFC East and how, maybe not the NFC in general, and kind of how down it is. It's not a juggernaut like it has been in the past. So that to me, would be the only thing that would give the Giants any hope of making the wild card. The Giants are not winning the division. I think, as I've said it already, it's going to the Eagles, and then I think Dallas is the second best team, and then it would be the Giants. But just remind me really quick, guys, who's the Giants' starting quarterback?
It's Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones.
Okay, yeah. So I don't really need to say anything else. As long as Daniel Jones is under center for the Giants, or forever, who that matter, I don't really care who it is. No, the Giants are not making the playoffs. I do love the addition of their new coaching staff. I like Brian Daboll. I like the fact that he went for it on 4th down in week 1 against Tennessee and had the balls to do that and go win the game. I love that, and I think it gave this team confidence. You saw this team last week against the Carolina Panthers force 2 fumble recoveries in the first half. You can tell that they're playing with more confidence, and I think that's because of the coaching staff compared to freaking Joe Judge, who was just a nut. But as long as Daniel Jones is under center, no, this team will find a way to screw up. And I'm happy for Saquon Barkley. I'm glad he's healthy. Looks like he's back to his old self. But Daniel Jones is going to Daniel Jones, and I can't wait for Monday night.
Yeah. This is the most fraud 2-0 team ever. They sneak out a win against the team we just described, the 0-2 Tennessee Titans, who we all said is garbage as it is. Or I didn't. I think they still win the playoffs because they're in garbage division. But they have no offensive weapons. Here's the thing with the Giants. Where I think their biggest weakness is their secondary. They have no one in secondary that can do anything. But they played the Tennessee Titans, who have no receivers. They played the Panthers, who, DJ Moore's nice. He's a decent, fantasy option, but he's not threatening anyone. You're not double teaming DJ Moore. And if you are, it might be effective. I don't know. But the Giants will get definitely exposed when they play the Eagles. They're going to get so exposed. They're going to get exposed when they play the Cowboys. CeeDee Lamb is going to run all over that ass.
Oh, we'll see.
I think so. I think the Cowboys beat them. What the Giants remind me of are a tick better than the Lions last year, where the Lions were in every game and they're scrappy and they like the coach and ball out it's good vibes. But I just don't see them winning handedly any other games this year. I think they're going to fall short. They're just going to they're going to have Danny Dimes is going to Danny Dimes. And they're going to have to go away from Saquon Barkley because they're going to be down in games. So I think the Giants are frauds.
You know what? So you guys are saying no.
I'm saying no.
Okay, you guys are saying no.
Oh, that wasn't clear enough in the yeah, it's a big time nobody. Yeah.
Jared, I apologize. I should have just asked Alex. I knew you were going to say no the whole time. But let me just, since I know there's a majority vote and we probably should move on, but I just really want to educate the fans out there as to why I think the New York Giants are going to make the playoffs. Okay? So first of all, so they beat the Titans and Panthers. So they have 2 wins, right? I'm telling you, their schedule is not hard. Okay? And the NFC, the NFC in general, it's kind of a wild card to see who's going to make the playoffs. So let me just do this whole thing here. They can beat the Cowboys. They can beat the Cowboys. Will they? It might be tough, but they can. They can beat the Bears. They can beat the Jaguars, Seahawks, Texans, Lions, Cowboys again, Commanders, Colts. Guys, there's like 8, 9, potentially 10 wins.
I think
there.
Commanders beat them. I think the Lions beat them.
No. Well, what I'm saying, though, is like those are games where like the line isn't going to be, minus 14 towards their opponent. And they're finding a way to win games, whether it be by aggression from their head coach and play calling, or just kind of, making plays, making things happen. Again, I think with this New York team, do I like Daniel Jones? No. But we've seen bad quarterbacks succeed with a good coaching staff and good teammates around them on offense. Saquon Barkley, if he's back, he can lead this team potentially to the playoffs. So I'm just saying, they have probably the easiest schedule left in the NFL, and they're already 2-0. So that's why I think this is an interesting question, is whether they're going to make the playoffs. Plus, let's just look at the standings in general. So you're going to have NFC South, right? Tampa, most likely. You're going to have NFC North, looking like probably the Packers, right? You have the NFC West. Doesn't matter. It's going to be someone, right? Don't know who it is yet, but it will be someone. And you look at the NFC East, most likely the Eagles, okay? Unless somehow the Giants can pull off wins against them, and they're the division champion. But I'm not going to be that ridiculous with this, okay? So there's 4 teams already right there. Probably at least one other team from the NFC West. Cardinals or 49ers, right? Can we agree on that? Right? Because if you don't agree on that, then the Giants are 100% making the playoffs. If we think the Rams are the only team making the playoffs out of the NFC West. You look at the rest of the teams. Just go over them right playing. The Vikings are the same Vikings they've been, right? The Lions, the Saints, the Bears, the Commanders. These are the teams that are vying for this 7th, 6th spot. So I think the Giants have a legitimate claim to think that they might be able to sneak into that 7th spot. It is not out of the question, like you guys are saying, based on their schedule. If they were playing the NFC West and they were playing the AFC West, I would say no, of course. And that's the way football works sometimes. Teams have easy schedules. Teams have, hard schedules. And what was the theme to start this podcast? A win is a win. It does not matter how you do it, and that's clearly how the Giants are doing it. If this was college football, they'd be ranked number 25, right? Even if they were 11, the Cincinnati of football, the Houston, the Rice, whatever. These teams that go 11-0 and 12-0, and then we go, okay, Texas San Antonio is a good example, right? Last year in college football, they were like 11-1. They were ranked for like no chance at the college football playoff, right? So a win is a win in the NFL. It comes all the way back, and I do think the Giants have a legitimate chance. And if we want to make a bet on something, I think that would be the bet to make. And I think we have a couple bets going here. Maybe the Cardinals to make the playoffs, the Giants to make the playoffs. Hell, I'll throw the Cowboys in there. Let's see if the Cowboys can make the playoffs, because I think the Giants might be able to beat them this Monday. Very, very interesting Monday night for the playoff race. Okay? Real quick, Dolphins. Now, again, it's the opposite in the AFC. You have the 4. They're not beating the Bills, so they're not going to. They don't just have that clear chance at making the playoffs. Have the Bengals. You have the 2 other AFC West teams. If we said the Bengals are making the playoffs, and Alex, you think that the Chargers and the Broncos are going to make the playoffs, well, then there's no spot for the Dolphins. So someone has to. So apparently. Either you got to say the Chargers aren't making the playoffs, or you have to retort back on your Bengals 0-2. The Dolphins are 2-0. They already have 2. But so I'm going to toss this to Alex. I'm going to challenge you. Do you think the Dolphins will sneak in? Because you already have said they are.
I don't like being put into a box that I made. It's kind of rude of you to use my facts against me. To make my make-believe scenario work, I'm going to say the Dolphins don't, and here's why. I think their defense is garbage. They're going to give up all the points. I think even when they might lose to I can see them losing to the Patriots when they go to New England. I don't know. I don't trust the Dolphins yet. Also, the Dolphins have done this before where they're super hot to start the season, and then you start getting these high-flying offenses, these let-it-loose offenses, and when the snow comes, they can't put any points on because they can't play football. They just play this, fun throw-around football. But when they got to run the ball, they're not as effective. So I can see them puttering out a la the Cardinals last year on the second half of the season. And I don't know why I did that dig. I don't know why I did that dig, but I had to. But they're a very similar team to me in the sense that like they're up tempo, like points. But when you need to get tough yards, they can't put their hard hats on and go to work. So that's my issue with them. Whereas I think the Bengals are built a little bit better in terms of like the cold weather. I think the Broncos are built way better for cold weather with the running game that they're going to have. The Chargers, if it's one of those teams I've already mentioned that are going to make it but don't make it, I'm going to say the Chargers because of that Herbert injury, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. We don't know if that's going to be a lingering. We don't know if that's going to be if he re-aggravates it. It's a rib injury. He's going to get put on his ass a lot, so it's going to come up throughout the season. You're going to see him next week, I guarantee you, in the Big Ben flak jacket. He's going to look 30 pounds heavier. But I think the only way I think the Dolphins make it in is if there's a collapse from either the Chargers or my Bengals pick doesn't come through.
Now, Jared, you said the same thing. You said the Bengals are going to make the playoffs. So how are you putting them in, and can you fit the Dolphins in?
No, I don't think the Dolphins make the playoffs. Congrats to the Dolphins for going 2-0. 2 good wins. Obviously, one of the best comebacks and best games all week 2. And let's give Tua in the offense credit. Like, listen, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill, like, they're unguardable. Like, they led week 2 in receiving. Tyreek Hill had 191 yards. Jalen Waddle had 171. Like, yes, offensively, they're going to be able to score points. They have like one of the fastest offenses. They have Chase Edmonds, your former Cardinal, who's a really fast, good catching running back out of the backfield. Like, they have a lot of speed. Raheem Mostert, right? So, yes, they do have a lot of speed on offense, and I think they can be explosive. But to your point, Alex, can they stop people? And I don't think consistently they can. I think Cincinnati will get their shit together. And I think, like, head-to-head, the Cincinnati versus the Dolphins matchup, I'm taking Cincinnati. A Chargers versus Miami Dolphins matchup, I'm taking the Chargers, right? I think those teams just have better all-around talent on both sides of the ball. And the thing I do love is I do like their head coach, right? I think he's like low-key, laid back, lets the players do their thing, lets them be themselves. So they seem to be building something nice. And they got a lot of offensive weapons this offseason. Like, going into next offseason in the draft, like, they got to start to build the defense. If they can keep their weapons healthy on offense this year and build a better defense next year, then next year I think they'll be almost a lock to make the playoffs. But right now, I don't see it, and I think there are too many other good teams. If they were in the NFC, but no, in the AFC, it's just not going to happen. But they'll be fun to watch. They'll score a lot of points. I got Jalen Waddle on my fantasy, so keep doing it.
Same with me. This is the problem with this stupid format the NFL does, is that the AFC South should not make the playoffs this year, and they're going to bump a team like the Dolphins, like the Bengals, or like the fucking Chargers, or even the Broncos. It's for me. Well, I'll say this: we'll get an answer in about 2 weeks. They play on Thursday night football in Cincinnati, Dolphins and Bengals. So based on the way the Bengals started, and let me just say this, the Dolphins play the Bills this week.
That's going to say a lot. That's going to say a lot.
Yeah, well, no, but here's the thing. They're going to be 2-1. The Bengals, let me see really quickly. I had them up. The Bengals are playing the Jets. So the Bengals would be 1-2. Dolphins would be 2-1, most likely, right? And so going into a Thursday matchup in Cincinnati, you don't have the advantage in weather for Miami's, horrible, humid weather. I think that game says a lot. And so I'll agree with you guys. I think the Dolphins are unfortunately somehow not going to make the playoffs this year. And it's going to be because of the AFC South, not because of, anything else. But these teams both have the Bengals and Dolphins both have difficult schedules. We know the Chargers and Broncos have a difficult schedule, or the Chiefs, whoever ends up being those wildcard teams, right? So, yeah, I think the Dolphins are going to be on the 8th spot 100%, but they're not going to make it. Relatively difficult schedule. And, I'll say this, if the Bengals win, or if the Dolphins do beat the Bengals are 1-3, they're 3-1, and then they have the advantage, Dolphins make the playoffs at that point. So this game will tell a lot. Yeah. And I'm glad they do play each other, because we're going to have some like tiebreaker bullshit or something like that happening at the end of the year. But
also,
yeah,
it's going to be a great color rush game too with the Bengals and Dolphins. That'd be nice to watch.
But also, that would be an amazing thing to watch in real life too, is a Bengal and a Dolphin fight, because we know how intelligent Dolphins are. You give the Dolphin one hand with thumbs and fingers against that Bengal who's stupid and is just predatorial and doesn't know what he's doing. I think we have a good chance. Without thumbs and fins, I think easy the Bengal just tears them apart from behind, and it's that's what happens. But that's why we dress these guys up in the uniforms and we don't actually put the animals out on the field to play each other. But yeah, Thursday night football in Cincinnati. They're one game apart in standings. I think that will tell everything. And I think if the Dolphins win, they're 100% making the playoffs at that point, barring injury. And if the Bengals win, you got to think the Bengals get in. So I will say the Dolphins don't make it. I agree. But if they do win that game, they will. And so hard to answer the question. But yeah, thank God none of us said the fucking Raiders were going to make the playoffs, right, in this thing, because we'd be like, oh no, we have to kick out the Broncos and nope. Alex would be like, my team isn't even making the playoffs. It's
what I am really excited about this, the way the scheduling works for the Broncos, is we play the Chiefs at week 12 and I think week 17. We play them.
Oh, that's awesome.
Backloaded, cold weather. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to run the ball. I think the advantage is going to be going towards the Broncos in those matchups, I think, assuming, injuries, whatever. But I think that all plays into our hand. Also, hopefully we've worked out the, false start issues, but we'll see.
Yeah, cold weather and altitude is fucking terrible. But I would not, the Broncos do have that advantage that SoFi Stadium doesn't have. Okay.
They also have fans, so that helps.
That's true. Yeah. Jared can attest to SoFi Stadium and fans too. He knows all about it. Yeah. All right. Well, we had to move on. Jared, I think you're going to moderate this last segment of the podcast, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, guys, I as much as we love talking football on this podcast, and as much as I do, I don't know if I've been more excited in a long time to bring up these topics that we're about to go about, right? It's about to be a heavyweight matchup battle. We have one side that is on the, and we're specifically talking about the AL MVP race right now. We have one side that is on Aaron Judge, wholeheartedly, has been from day one. And we have another side that is on Shohei Ohtani, right? The do-it-all baseball player, starting pitcher, DH, hasn't, the things that he's doing haven't been done since Babe Ruth, some say. So, guys, let's just get right into this debate. And we'll start with Nick, because he is the guest on this show. Or I'm sorry, we'll start with Alex, my bad. Alex, give us your AL MVP winner and reasons why said winner should get the victory.
Okay. So the MVP stands for most valuable player.
Correct.
Do we agree, or do we buy into the stat called WAR, which is wins above replacement, which is, basically how many wins is your team getting because you're playing on the field instead of someone who is at the median line, not the worst player, but just someone who is average. Do we like that stat? Are we fans of that? Yeah.
That was towards Alex. Yes, I do. That was towards Nick. Yeah.
So if we do, Aaron Judge has a almost one whole win above replacement. It's 9.6 to 8.7 in terms of what he does for the Yankees in comparison to what Shohei Ohtani is able to do for the Angels. Now, Aaron Judge is doing this in the AL East, which I think some would say is one of the tougher divisions in baseball. He's playing the Tampa Bay Rays, who have been very good lately, playing the Blue Jays, which I actually, if we want to go back and look at my tweets, I actually picked the Blue Jays to win this division to when the season started because I didn't have faith in our pitching, but whatever. So we're doing that in a tougher division. Yes, the Angels have the Astros, but then you also got the Oakland Athletics. You know, you got some garbage teams in the AL West.
The Mariners.
The Mariners aren't bad.
What?
The Mariners aren't too bad.
They're not good. They're not good.
What are you talking about? They're going to make the playoffs.
So someone has to.
Well, okay, the AL East has the shit Red Sox.
Yes, we do.
Right.
Which is
you know
nice.
what? I'm not gonna keep going because the AL West has the Mariners and the Astros, and the AL East has the Rays, the Blue Jays, and the Yankees. So and the Orioles, who are okay. But I mean, really,
playing above their weight.
It's 3-2. Yeah. Orioles.
And now we're looking at who we're playing against and what the results have been. The Yankees are leading the division. We're almost punched our ticket, getting confirmed to make the playoffs. At least probably going to win the division. And Aaron Judge has been the focal point, the best hitter, and arguably one of the best defenders on that team as well. And what he's doing in center field at 6'7", 280. What he's been doing, the defensive run saves have been huge, and obviously what he's doing offensively. I'm not even going to get into the offensive stats. We all heard him. He's at 59 home runs. He's probably going to break Roger Maris's record, maybe this week. Roger Maris's family's already starting to show up to the fields to be there when he does. Everyone kind of knows it. He might hit 69 home runs, which would be perfect.
That would be.
It's a good number.
Yeah, really nice.
It's a good number.
And Shohei Ohtani, I'll let you fill in the Shohei Ohtani stats. I'm not going to make your argument for you. But what Aaron Judge is doing, we haven't seen in 50, 60 years. And I know you're going to say, what?
You're going to go at that angle. That is not going to win you this argument, buddy.
That's why I know Shohei Ohtani's done it farther back. I understand. But and here's the thing, we'll get into the Babe Ruth thing in a little bit. That's fine. But we haven't seen this for 60 years with this kind of offensive output and doing it for a team that has the most pressure in the league. And I know, how I know that? Because Shohei Ohtani chose not to go to the Yankees because he wanted less pressure and chose the Angels instead. So I'll now cede the floor to you, Chase.
So I'm gonna assume you're picking Aaron Judge to be the MVP this year.
Yes. Sorry. Oh, I guess
Okay.
I made a pick. My bad.
No.
Aaron Judge is the MVP this year. Has been the entire season.
Okay. So you mentioned WAR, wins above replacement, right? And I think the reason I gave you a little topsy-turvy answer, didn't even answer it with my own mouth, is because WAR was created as a stat before Shohei Ohtani existed. Okay? And what I mean by Shohei Ohtani existed is I mean a guy that does both pitch and hit at a very high level. Okay? And when you talk about Roger Maris and Aaron Judge is doing something that hasn't been done for 50 years, Shohei Ohtani is doing something that has never been done before. He's one of a kind. I don't want to hear about Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth is amazing, right? The Wilt Chamberlain of baseball, a guy that revolutionized the game. I saw a stat I saw a little video on TikTok the other day. It was one of those videos where they show from the beginning of baseball the home run leaders up until now, right? So like it ends up with Barry Bonds and stuff like that. So it goes from like 1876, the home run leaders, and when you look at Babe Ruth, right? He was so far ahead of everybody back then. He revolutionized the game. He did pitch. The difference with him is he quit pitching. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Shohei Ohtani has not quit pitching yet. The last 2 years, he's hit nearly 80 home runs combined, or he's around there at this point, and probably will finish with over 80 home runs the last 2 years. And he's pitching even better this year. Okay? So for him, he's doing something that nobody has ever done. He's the best baseball player to ever play the game the last 2 years. The year before that, no. The year before that, no. Maybe even next year. No. Maybe something happened with his arm. He quits pitching. But for the last 2 years, Shohei Ohtani has done something that nobody has ever done before. Aaron Judge, it is very, very, very impressive to hit 50 home runs. But if Shohei Ohtani played at Yankee Stadium, he'd probably be in the 40s right now, right? And so that's fine. We're not, Jared Judge has hit 58, 59. He'll end up with 60, 65, whatever he ends up with. Shohei will end up with around 40. If he was playing at Yankee Stadium, he'd probably end up about 45, maybe even 50 home runs, right? He tends to pull the ball a lot, right? The biggest difference here is Shohei Ohtani has an ERA of 2.43. That's 7th in the majors. Okay? What is he in home runs? Is he third? I think he's third. I think Mike Trout somehow is passing him up, which just tells you how good fucking Mike Trout is, right? Shohei Ohtani is third in home runs right now in the American League. And in the AL, he's 7th in ERA. Aaron Judge is 0.00 in the discussion of pitching. So, for me, the most valuable player is a guy that can do both things, both hit and pitch at an extremely top 10 level, okay? And the guy that plays in center field, which is more impressive than what he did last year, right? That plays in center field and waits and stands out there and, just does this half the time, and then goes up there and hits, and some of his home runs wouldn't be home runs in any other park, right? His team has consistently lost the lead in the AL East throughout this year, and they are only 5 games up at this point, right? Yeah, I get the Angels suck, but it's not Ohtani's fault. One guy can't win the game win ball games for a team. And Aaron Judge isn't doing that either. Your pitching staff hasn't been that bad. And the hitting has been pretty god-awful. And when the hitting was god-awful, you guys weren't winning games. So I don't know where Judge is coming in here. He's hitting home runs, and you're still losing. So I think it's an easy discussion. Shohei Ohtani is top 10 in the American League in both home runs and ERA. Strikeouts, I think where is he in strikeouts? Oh, yeah, he's 7th in strikeouts. Top 10 in both things. This is an easy one. Easy MVP is Shohei Ohtani. And every single year he hits 30 home runs, keeps his average above about 230, 240, and pitches anywhere near a 3 ERA. He's the most valuable player.
Hang the banner. He bats over 230 every year. Hang the banner. So if we're going to blame Judge for them losing the lead while still hitting, how should we blame Shohei for never having a lead while pitching and hitting? If that's
because his team is just. Because here's the thing, Alex. When we look at the beginning of the season,
now it's the team.
Okay, but let's because I get most valuable player, but Mike Trout has won multiple MVPs, and the Angels have made the playoffs once with him. Yeah. So that doesn't really matter
in the division those seasons, though. And he was the best offensive player, so it made sense. Shohei is nowhere near the best offensive player, and no, he's not.
I'll say this. Okay. I mean, yeah, it's hard to compete with Mike Trout. And if Mike Trout would have had a full year, it would realistically be him, Ohtani, and Judge. Trout at 35 home runs right now is ridiculous for being injured earlier this season. I mean, Trout would be in the 40s. You never know. He stays super healthy. He might be up there kind of with Judge in the high 40s in home runs, be batting 300 like he usually does. Very, very impressive year for Mike Trout. But, again, Mike Trout isn't fucking pitching either, okay? And Mike Trout's playing the same damn position Aaron Judge is. But let's get back to the teams, okay?
So how could it be that Mike Trout could even get into the equation if he doesn't pitch, though? I don't understand how he could be.
He's not.
Is it because he plays a premier defensive position in center field? Is that one of the reasons why it would be very impressive? That's what adding to his.
No, I'm saying as far as Trout goes, he consistently bats above 300. Which is very, very hard to do. He still his on base percentage is some of the best we've seen the last 5-10 years.
Talk about this year. And what's Judge's batting average? Oh wait, Judge is competing. It's not even the home run record he's trying to break. He's one batting average point away from the Triple Crown. He's driving runs in. He's leading the league in runs scored. He's batting .316.
Okay.
You know,
Does he pitch? He doesn't pitch.
No, he doesn't. You know why? Because he doesn't have to. Even with not pitching, he still has accounted for more wins above replacement. That's the beauty of WAR, is it adds both of it together. It's a way to equal out the kind of, or balance out, or it's how to decipher whether a batter is more valuable than a starting pitcher, vice versa. And if Shohei Ohtani's pitching and hitting, his WAR should be through the roof because of how valuable it is. But it's not. It's still a win below. So maybe those home runs are coming when it doesn't really fucking matter because they're already losing games. He's got a lot of cheapos. Judge has 2 walk-off home runs. I think 3 or 4 total walk-off winning hits.
I think Ohtani's up there with that too, though.
I don't know.
Okay, but here's the thing. I want to go back to the teams things, because when you look at the beginning of the year, right? Does anybody think that if you said, okay, gun to your head, Yankees or Angels are making the playoffs this year, what's your prediction? And we kill you if that team doesn't make the playoffs. We're all going the Yankees.
Yeah.
Like, we're all saying, oh, the Yankees are going to make the playoffs, right, over the Angels. So already the Yankees were projected to do better than the Angels, okay? And yes, the Angels did have a great start, and that beginning of the year, I did think the Angels had a chance at the playoffs. But again, Judge already has the advantage there. Okay, Judge could not play the whole year, and realistically, I'd still think the Yankees might make the playoffs over the Angels. That's a different story. But nonetheless, yes, then you have injuries to key players that the Angels have, that the Angels sign, right? They always don't have starting pitching, so any starting pitching injury is horrible for them, right? You lose Anthony Rendon, who's supposed to be one of their better hitters in the lineup. You lose Taylor Ward, who was batting around .350 earlier this season and was leading the Angels to wins. You eventually lose Mike Trout. What are you supposed to do if you took the 3 other best players off of the Yankees, which did not happen this year?
Like Giancarlo Stanton, like Anthony Rizzo.
Yeah, but they're not out for that long, though. They're out for a couple weeks. I mean, Ward was out for a couple months. Trout was out for a month. Rendon has not come back yet. So the long-term injuries. No, it was not. Stanton was not out for a month. He was out for a couple weeks. But nonetheless, you take those 3 guys. And by the way, the Yankees sucked when those guys got hurt.
And the Angels have sucked all year.
Yeah, because those guys got hurt. I'm saying that, like, the Angels were already behind the ball, so the same thing happens to them, and they don't The other thing, again,
that it takes 9 players to win the game. Well, like that, right?
It takes about 6 realistically, but yeah.
Right. I'm still gonna say I'd rather have a guy who I can guarantee to do one thing. I think I made this argument when it was the Miguel Andujar Rookie of the Year versus Shohei Ohtani. Obviously, 2 different seasons. Shohei Ohtani's gotten a lot better since then. But I'd rather have a guy who's playing a position every day, can bat him. I know where he's batting in the lineup, blah, 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 and his defensive can help on defense. Than a guy who will pitch once a week, which is, any starting pitcher. But he also was missing, he misses games because he's got to rest afterwards. He only DHs. He doesn't even play. How can you say he's the best baseball player ever if he doesn't play defense? Yes, Jared.
As the moderator, and by the way, I appreciate you guys taking a lot of time. My earbuds died, so it gave me a chance to reboot those and actually get back in
That's
here.
Hilarious.
So I appreciate that.
That's awesome.
And this is someone that never played organized baseball, and this is a legit question. I thought a pitcher was counted as defense.
It's the ultimate defense, Jared. If the pitcher doesn't allow anybody to hit the ball, if the pitcher doesn't allow anybody to hit the ball, Aaron Judge can't catch fucking balls in center field. Okay, so it's the ultimate. It's a terrible take by Alex. That's
I just wanted to clarify that because I thought a pitcher was also considered a part of the defense. So to your point of Shohei Ohtani pitching, but really not being a defensive positional player, I didn't know if there was a difference there.
Yes, no, you're absolutely right. He does count as the defense, but he's not creating any defensive runs saved where he is. So he's not contributing when the ball is put in play. Yeah, if he gets no shit. If he gets 27 strikeouts, yeah. I mean, if he's getting 4 games every game, yeah, give him the MVP. You know,
7th most strikeouts in the MLB. 7th most strikeouts in the American League. 7th most strikeouts. So he's the 7th best guy at not allowing Aaron Judge to catch the ball. That's essentially not allowing Aaron Judge to do anything on defense. He's the 7th best guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Listen, I think you guys have both made great arguments back and forth. I don't know if I can choose. I'll tell you this. I'm an Angels fan growing up, and Shohei Ohtani has been a dream. To say that you're pairing him with Mike Trout has been great. But to Alex's point, what have the Angels done in the win column? What have they done to get into the playoff and to actually make noise, right? And so I think a big argument for Alex is the fact that his Yankees, albeit they may have a better team and maybe they're a little bit healthier, they are winning and they are relevant when it matters in the playoffs, right? And I think that could also be a reason why Judge is catapulted a little bit. He's playing in New York. He's playing in the biggest market in America, and his team wins. So he's automatically getting more shine and getting more coverage there. I will say this, and I'll pose this question to the both of you, and I'm pretty sure I know where you guys are going to go with this, but I say this to maybe change up the thinking process just a second. If you guys were the owners of a team and you had to start and you could, start with one player, who would that player be? Would it be Aaron Judge or Shohei Ohtani? And if it's not, that's okay. But who would you guys start your Major League Baseball team with if you had to pick one player?
I'll answer this first. It would be Shohei Ohtani because Aaron Judge again only hits, and the worst outcome of Shohei Ohtani was him being not only a guy that can hit home runs at a 30-40 clip. The worst thing his pitching could do is be the best closer in baseball. So even if his starting pitching career, which eventually will end in a few years, right? We won't see this for that long, even if that ends, you'd still have a great hitter, a 4-hitter in your lineup, as well as a legitimate top reliever. So that's the worst you get with Judge, just great hitter. That's it.
So let me tell you that sounds adorable, but let me tell you the reason why that will never happen. Because how are you going to warm him up? How are you going to you're going to take him out of the DH spot to then go to the bullpen and then come back? How are you going to get him to be able to
warm him up in the? Is there a rule in the MLB that guys have to warm up in the bullpen?
What happens if the inning ends too quickly? Then he's got to come back to hit.
Angels, go build a fucking mound and shit behind the dugout. Behind the dugout. No. Okay, I don't know. Is there a rule in the MLB to where you have to warm up in view of people? Because they should just build the bullpen.
Absolutely, you have to let the other team know.
It's fair. So build the fucking bullpen right next to the dugout so you can just walk out there and pitch. Yeah, figure it out.
He goes out there. He goes out there. The Angels are on defense, and the team gets a 1-2-3 inning, and he has to come back now and then hit. And then is he going to go run back out? And he's just a little choo-choo train, back and forth.
Sure.
The baseball cart, the big ball cart that goes around.
Damn right. Yeah, fucking Corvette on the field. Be like, we need to get him out there fast. Yeah. No, I mean, I like that. I like the challenge. You're right. It would be difficult to have him as a reliever. So you're right.
At first I was like, how are you going to have him warm up with the defensive player because you'd have to sub for him? And then I remember that's right. He doesn't play defense, so he won't be ever in the field. So, yeah, he doesn't help on that at all.
Toss a couple. Shohei can learn how to throw a bullpen without a mound in the outfield, I don't
understand how you can consider him the best baseball player ever to live, and he doesn't use his glove. I just don't understand that.
Does he not catch the ball every single pitch from the catcher?
Yeah, he does. You know what?
Does he not hide the base? Hey, Alex, does he not hide the baseball, the very thing that's used to play the game, in his glove, and he has full control of it inside his glove? Does he not do
if that's where you want to live and die on your argument, that's fine. Go for it.
Aaron Judge touches the ball like 7 times a game. He's like Ezekiel Elliott when they lose. He barely touches the ball.
Saves runs doing it.
Oh,
All right,
man.
gentlemen.
It's
Listen,
been an easy win for me, by the way, on this
I
discussion.
just,
listen.
By the way, can I say one more thing, and I'll give Alex the last say, but I wanted to say this. So for anybody out there really quickly that's wondering, the number 2 WAR in baseball is Shohei Ohtani. So Alex is acting like that Aaron Judge is so far ahead of everybody, but he's not.
The whole win,
number 2.
whole win ahead.
And there's also a guy that's number 7 on that list that doesn't even ever play the field in Yordan Alvarez. So the WAR stat is like, okay, it's a little sketchy, especially with the advent of the DH, right, in the National League. You're getting some guys in there. The DH position, we could have that discussion all day. But nonetheless, the WAR, a little sketchy. Number 2, for anybody, and I don't think
it's not sketchy at all.
Because you keep saying he doesn't use his glove, he's not out there, all this stuff. Let me just remind you that Aaron Judge and Shohei Ohtani have played the exact same amount of games this year. How unbelievable is that? Shohei's not missing games like he was last year when he won the MVP. He's not missing games like he was the years before to get ready to pitch. He's mastered the ability to be the best at both things. Okay? I get that Aaron Judge is having a great season this year, but Shohei Ohtani, we've always talked about with consistency. Consistently the last 2 years has been able to pitch at a very high clip. Yes, his home runs are down this year, but the ERA and strikeouts are so much better that that's maybe why the home runs are down. And I think without Shohei Ohtani pitching, the Angels would be the worst fucking team in baseball, and they aren't. So that's
let's get Alex here.
They might as well be.
Let's get Alex here on the final word. Final word.
Yeah, like you said, his power's going down, so he can't do both to the maximum effect. He has to give up something somewhere. And again, with you, like, yeah, you're right. The WAR is, Shohei Ohtani is second, and you're absolutely right. I think he is very close there to Judge in terms of the WAR leaders. But you know where he is in relationship? He's still behind him, which you don't get multiple MVPs. This isn't, the really nice players, valuable players award. It's the most valuable player. So it's the one who's done the most, which has been Judge. He's been better than Shohei without pitching. He hasn't needed to because he's been so offensively dominant. Would you rather have Shohei Ohtani have a season like Aaron Judge, compete for the home run record, and just be absolutely out of his mind offensively and not pitch? Do you think that is a better situation for the Angels or not?
Did Bonds ever win a World Series?
I don't think. I'm guessing no. I don't. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't. So again, Bonds is the best home run hitter ever, and it didn't translate to anything meaningful for the San Francisco Giants.
Has Shohei Ohtani ever won a World Series?
Well, no, but he's
has
had
he ever won
chances.
a playoff game?
He hasn't had the ability.
So, but Bonds got to a World Series.
Yeah, Bonds got to the World Series. I'm just saying it Judge has gotten to plenty of playoffs and hasn't been able to do it. So that's not a knock on him this year. I think the Yankees are, right there with the Astros. I've been talking about this all season as far as AL teams. We'll see if Judge steps up. It won't be just because of him that they'll make the playoffs. You
also realize like every World Series team ever hasn't had a player pitch and hit, right? Like that's not the magic key. You're making it sound like, man, like it's
the Angels are going to win the World Series next year, and Shohei's going to be the MVP of the World Series because he's going to pitch and hit, and it's going to be the biggest story in sports history. I'm telling you that right now. Real quick, Alex, I want to give you the last word. You keep saying that the WAR and the WAR is, by the way, the WAR exactly is Aaron Judge 9.6, Shohei Ohtani 8.9.
8.7.
So
just what I looked at.
Okay, 8%. Whatever. Maybe it jumped 2 points before we looked at it. But and you said something along the lines of Judge is behind Aaron Judge. Well, Aaron Judge is in 840th or is 833 places behind Shohei Ohtani in both strikeouts and ERA.
Yep.
Okay. There's 840 baseball players, give or take. He's 830 people behind Shohei in both strikeouts and ERA. And Shohei is only 2 places behind Judge in that magical home run, that magical home run stat. Just saying.
Gentlemen. We could go on all damn day, and I would love to sit here and listen to it and get my popcorn and sit with the beer because I love it, man. You guys have made great arguments on both sides. Listen, if you're watching the show right now, we're going to do a poll and we're going to see who had the better argument and who you think should be the AL MVP. Should it be Aaron Judge? Should it be Shohei Ohtani? And then we'll get the votes from the people, right? I think we clearly know where you two stand. I'm not going to give a vote because I'm the moderator, but we will see from the people what they think and see who had the better argument in the end. We are up against it, and we just have a few minutes left. On last week's show, I was able to ask Nick at the very end of the show what he thought of Major League Baseball's new rules that are going to be implemented starting next year. So, Alex, I want to give you the chance, because of your baseball background and your knowledge, to just give us your quick thoughts. We just have a few minutes on what you think about the rules, the bigger bases, the no shifting anymore, the pitching clock. Give us your thoughts on if you think it's good for Major League Baseball or why it may not be.
Last thing on the Shohei Ohtani thing, Aaron Judge has given up 42 less runs pitching than Shohei Ohtani.
Oh, okay.
And then, so anyways, for the new rules.
By the way, for the Dodgers, Hanser Alberto has more fucking strikeouts than Aaron Judge this year, okay? So I'm just telling you that right now. A utility guy for the Dodgers has more strikeouts and more outs than Aaron Judge. So let's not go on the stats of the pitching stats for Judge. 0.00 everything for him. A failure in everything.
Got it. Anyways. For the new rules, I actually am stoked about the changing of the shift. I think it's going to be so much better for baseball. You're going to see batting average go up. You're going to see, types of players that can, be valuable in the league, and guys who are pull hitters. I don't think you need to get penalized for being a pull hitter. If you don't want him to hit to that side, pitch him away. That's all you got to do. So I think that's going to be great for the sport and help it grow in that sense, where it's going to create more action, more contact, more balls in play. I think that'll be helpful. Batting average go up, runs go up. For the bigger bases, I'm confused. Are we going to change the dimensions? Will it still be 90 feet? Do you know what I mean? Is it the bigger base, but the distance will change slightly?
What I thought they were changing this rule for is potentially injury related. I didn't really understand that they want to reduce injury. Maybe there's more spot to there's less chance of the first baseman getting his Achilles torn in half.
See, I thought it was.
That's what I assumed. I don't know. I don't really know. I guess it will make stolen bases.
That's right.
Better, and then bang plays. It will be again more to the runner. All these rules are to make the game more fun to watch. So I assume they wouldn't just throw some random thing in there that has nothing to do. Pitch clock makes the game more fun to watch. Shifts not being allowed, more fun to watch. Bases being bigger. I assume it has to do with steals, bang plays, get more runners on base, out suck. That's why I assume. So the dimensions, I think the dimensions will be a little shorter. That's what I assume. I think they don't care.
Because I think it's meant for the stolen bases. Is one of the main keys I always heard was it was meant to increase or entice people to start stealing more.
And Alex, you can probably agree with me on this. Is stolen bases are fucking awesome.
I love it.
I love it. When you're at a game, to see a guy just start running on a play is insane. Yeah, it's really fun.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And then for the pitching clock, I don't like that one. And the reason why is I think it puts too much on the pitcher. It's because now you have a guy who's on base. It's going to almost be like a play clock in football, and you have an offensive, or outside linebacker. He's like, oh, the pitching clock's going down. I'm going to be able to steal because I know he has to start, his motion. So I think you're going to see more cat and mouse that, which will be exciting, but I think you're going to see a lot of dumb box because of it, more so than more stolen bases, which I think what they're trying to do. So I don't like it, because I think also when you're getting in the playoff situation and you have the pitcher trying to now we get try and hear the signals, not just going through all the hand signals. I think you're going to see a lot of pitchers switching back to hand signs once the playoffs start and those loud crowds. I mean, we've already seen it for the Yankees pitchers in Yankee Stadium. They can't hear their own, signals. So it's going to be, to get all those signs right, it's going to be tougher for the pitcher then to be like, oh, fuck, I got a pitch clock now too. Like, I just have to go with this pitch because I have to. I don't like that. And I think that changes the game too much in favor of the hitter.
So if you missed the beginning of the show, it was all NFL, all football. All three of our teams won. We are all happy, at least for this week, until next Sunday, when you never know what happens. My Cowboys play on Monday. I believe the Cardinals and Broncos respectively both play Sunday. The Broncos play Sunday night. Yep. And then Cardinals, I think, who cares when the Cardinals play?
125, one of those two teams.
We're going to try to
Did you just fucking say who cares when the Cardinals play?
I was joking. Listen, I haven't gotten talked for the last 20 minutes, so I had to throw something in. Okay, I'm sorry.
Let's go Giants. That's the only time I'm ever going to say that.
But big NFL show. We finished it up with some Major League Baseball talk. So if you missed anything, go back. We'll be on all of our social media platforms. We'll be on YouTube. We're going to put a poll up to see who is the AL MVP. But for our special guest, Alex Silva, for my co-host, Nick Nenad, I'm Jared Smith. This has been the Cover 2 Podcast. We'll see you guys next week.